Hey everyone, Greg here. As you may know by now, I'm the co-founder and CEO of TripShock, an online reseller for water sports and tours. For the past 12 years, we've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of operators across the country, and we're looking to grow our community. It's free to sign up, and you only pay when we bring you confirmed bookings. We'll help you reach new customers, fill empty seats, and grow your business like so many have done with us over the years. Head over to partners.tripshock.com to learn more about our program, read testimonials, or speak directly with our supply team. As always, thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
They come to relax, enjoy the beach, have fun, and spend money. And that's where we come in. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. Find out tips on the best ways to market and operate a water sports business. If you're a water sports operator, you need to grow your brand, operate more safely, upgrade your operations, and of course, increase bookings. We're industry veterans, broadcasting from Destin, Florida. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. And this is Kevin O'Neill and Greg Fisher.
We are talking today with Paul Bulka Jr. of Bulka Media and Aqua Aviation. Paul is based out of California, San Diego, California to be exact, and he is a very interesting guy, and he's been in the water sport industry for quite a while, particularly in hydroflight, but he works with a lot of water sport operators in California with their media and operations. But, you know, I like talking to guys like Paul. He's, you can tell he's hungry, he's passionate, and he has he just brought a lot to the table today as far as good conversation and good dialogue. So I think everyone's going to really enjoy this. And we do start off the conversation talking about kind of what's going on in California, because we're so focused on the East Coast here. A lot of our interviews have been East Coast, but in reality, like we have a lot of listeners from all over the country. You know, we want to talk about what's happening in California. Are things the same? And really what we found out is it's not a heck of a lot different. I'm not going to spoil it. Let's jump into the interview and
yeah, let's get awkward.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We're here with Paul Bulka Jr. of Aquatic Aviation and Bulka Media. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Great. And as you know, we like to start the show off to learn a little bit about who you are and what you do. So take a few minutes and enlighten us.
Yeah. So as you introduced me, my name is Paul. I run a digital marketing agency, and I also run a hydroflight company here in San Diego, California. And basically, I love everything tech and innovation. My first successful business is Aquatic Aviation, and that's a hydroflight company. We sell and distribute water jet packs, jet boards, and we also run a training facility here in San Diego where we actually train people how to use the equipment, but we also set up instructors. So if you know you're starting a business, we can certify you to actually instruct other people on the equipment. That's one thing that we do here in San Diego. And then I have a marketing agency as well that we started off a couple years ago, basically focusing on marketing. For right now, our niche, I would say, would be more manufacturing and outdoor activities and experiences. So that's kind of what our agency focuses on right now. Just because we have a lot of experience building our own companies, and we wanted to actually help other people, take their companies online and create an online presence for them, and build out digital assets for them. And that's basically what, in a gist, is the companies. So
Paul, today's show is about what's going on the West Coast in the water sport industry. A lot of our conversation is about what's going on the East Coast, primarily Florida. And we have a lot of listeners, new listeners, according to our data, that are listening in Oregon and California. And I think it would be fitting to have someone on the show from that side of the country, kind of letting us know what's going on. I mean, what's going on with the government regulations, and how our businesses thriving like they are in Florida. But maybe just kind of walk us through kind of what's happening, more, maybe just start from a sky level and work our way down.
Yeah, I mean, everybody sees the news in the mainstream media and thinks, California shut down, they're strict, they're arresting people left and right, and when they go out, and it's just a different atmosphere, which California is that way. You know, it is different than anywhere I've ever been in the country. But as far as the water sports stuff goes, you know, it actually stayed open. I mean, I think there was a time in March when it shut down for like a month when we couldn't go on the water, maybe a month or two, where we couldn't actually go out on the water. We weren't allowed to be out there doing activities, gathering together. But then literally a month or two after that went by, the water sports like were allowed to be on the water again if you had a business, and it just blew up. I mean, like we didn't actually operate this year, but you know, I have connections in the industry that own water sport companies, and you know, jet ski rentals, boat rentals, kayak rentals, paddleboard rentals, all of those companies, and just blew up. And you know, I actually have a real close contact where in our same arena, I've actually built a website for one of the paddleboard and kayak companies, and they just took off. I mean, they're number one on TripAdvisor right now. I just saw that yesterday. So, you know, they just took off, and, you know, it's busy out here for activities. I think a lot of people aren't traveling right now. So a lot of locals are looking for activities to do outdoors. And so I think that you're seeing that increase, which is kind of crazy because it really flips. Like usually it's a lot of tourism, and then, you know, the locals are like secondary, but it's like actually flipped. And it's pretty interesting to see, actually, where you think that business would be down because of circumstances that we're in. You would think that the business would actually be down, but it's actually flourishing here.
Hey,
So,
Paul, I want to extrapolate something you said in the beginning, just so our viewership has a grasp of what you do. So, Aquatic Aviation, your main purpose is you resell these hydroflight products. But in addition, when you said you didn't open up this year, you did have a rental that you were offering lessons and actual hydroflight experiences for the general public, correct?
correct. Yeah, we've been all. Yeah, correct.
Can you explain to me? Was it COVID related? Was it a reduction in the demand in the marketplace? Why didn't you guys open this year, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no, of course. Yeah. So, you know, we made the decision to not open this year because we just didn't want to deal with all the regulations, and we didn't know what this thing was. We didn't know how it was going to play out. You know, it was a perfect time to make the decision. We just, you know, there's a lot of regulations, and you know, when we train people, you know, it's more of a hands-on experience. It's not like, here, take the equipment out and you go do it. It's more like one-on-one training. So
Right. So when you say regulations, are you testing to regulations regarding water sports or regulations due to COVID?
regulations due to COVID. We didn't want to deal with you know, I didn't want employees to have to risk getting sick. And
Gotcha.
at the beginning, like, that's what it was. It's like, all right, guys, we're shutting down, or no one's operating. We didn't know what. And then a month or two went by, and, you know, our insurance renewal was coming up, and they're like, are you guys going to open up? And, you know, we just prolonged it. And then we finally made a decision, like, look, we're not going to operate this year. We don't want to deal with having to mandate all of employees, risking their health and safety, risking customers' health and safety. You know, we deal with a lot of tourism, so, you know, you never know who's coming in there. And,
Right.
you know, we wanted to make sure that we took all the necessary precautions to not to take a step back. And
Are there a lot of other rental operations? So on the West Coast, like, you know, we talked about this a little bit when we did our first call, when we spoke. Would hydroflight, is that a popular activity in California? Is there a lot of other operators, or was it like hydroflight across the country where in, you know, 2013, 2014, when it really first getting legs underneath it, like it's declined as a whole? Or is there like, what is the vibe in California? You know what I mean? Like, what if you had to nail it down, like, say, like top 3 activities, and like where do you see? I know we've talked about boat rentals, but it's like, what really moves in California as far as being like popular activities in tourism?
Yeah. So the flyboarding is, you know, we brought it here in 2012, first company on the West Coast. And, you know, we've seen it, grow extremely, and then we've seen it, plateau. So it's right now, it's still growing. You still have people interested in it, and we still have people that come and try it. I mean, who doesn't want to fly? It really is an ultimate experience, right? And I would say, like, we have a few people around our area that offer rentals still, but we have seen a lot of them close. And I think it's just that people, just like us, they started with the dream, to start a company, and they thought they were just going to get the product and people will come flying in because it's one of those, extreme, like, attention grabbing products. And they thought that people would just come in and pay hand over fist for it. What we've learned is that it's really niche. It's a lot of hard work, and it's, you have to have a good business to make it profitable, and that's something a lot of people, including ourselves when we first started, thought that it wouldn't be that hard. And the truth is, business is hard, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. And what we've learned is it doesn't matter what product you have. I mean, we were the first to get these products in the United States, and even on a distribution and sales side, it took us 8 months to actually sell our first product. And you would think no one has this, this product is amazing. It's innovative, and why is it not selling, right? So I think a lot of people come in with that mentality, and they came in with the mentality and thought they would just put it in and not have to do a lot of hard work and just get rich off of it. So we've seen a few, companies, disappear and not offer it anymore. And insurance is expensive as well. So it's just, there's a lot of variables in place. But
I feel like with water sports in general, if you just rent kayaks or you just rent boats, it seems like you have to have a mix of different products because of regulations, maintenance. Hydroflight is a perfect example. Like when we talked with Ben Murrell, if it wasn't for the jet ski, pontoon boats, kayaks, the private tours, he said, the flyboarding doesn't exist on its own. It also, and you kind of need to wrap it around almost like another business because it's very specialized and not everyone can do it. I mean, physically.
Yeah.
So yeah. Paul, if I want to jump in here real quick, and it's not that I want to get away from hydroflight, but if let's say I come to, and you're based out of near San Diego, correct?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
All right. So if I go to, and obviously California's a big state, and San Diego has a completely different vibe from San Francisco, has a completely different vibe from Los Angeles. But when we think of San Diego, you think of the Bay Area, you think of the cold water, like you said when we talked earlier. People come to be on the water, not in the water. But you do think of surfing. You guys got great surf, correct? Yeah, San Diego is known for really good surf. So some people are getting in the water. So if I came there and I'm a water sport entrepreneur, what industry? Not that I'm coming to California to start a business, but right. if I'm live in the San Diego area and I think, hey man, I want to get into this game, what would just be a slam dunk or a home run, you think there?
Yeah, so I'd like to touch back to what Greg said about Ben and about the industry, about having other things around it. If that's okay with you.
Sure. First, yeah. And then, I think it all goes together regardless.
Yeah. So, and then I'll go into what I think striving and what water sports I think are the most popular and I think that make the most money. So back to what Ben said about Ben said about, how he had to build products and offerings around the flyboard hydroflight stuff. Mm-hmm. And that is 100% true about what stopped our growth, right? As an actual training facility water sports company. But in the last 8 years, we've only done hydroflight. So we've only done flyboard, right? So, and jetpacks and hoverboards. So in that time frame, we've been able to really critique, because that was our main source, critique the business model and processes and price points and marketing strategies to actually make it a profitable business for somebody. But the scalability of it, like Ben said, if you want to make it something bigger, you always need to have other revenue sources, right? So it can be profitable and you can make a living off of it. Just as a hydroflight, as a water, as a flyboard rental company or hydroflight rental company, you can make a living off of it. But adding the other sources is definitely something you want to do in your plan as for growth. And that leads me into, what's popular here. And like I was telling Kevin is, the water sports here is totally different. A lot of people come to San Diego to get on the water and not in it, right? So like surfing and stuff is an exception because we do have some decent surf. But a lot of people, jet ski rentals, boat rentals, sailing is actually one of the biggest attractions in whale watching here in San Diego. So those are probably some of the bigger water sport niches here. Whale watching is super competitive, and it's a lot of companies here that do whale watching. So I would say that's probably the top one. But other than that, as far as like your traditional water sports go, I would say jet ski rentals, because we have a pretty amazing bay as far as like sightseeing goes. And people love to get on the jet skis and go see downtown and Coronado and see those areas like that. And, you got Navy bases here. So there's just so much to see on the water here.
Is it hard to open up a personal watercraft business? Because we've noticed in different states, it can be very hard to not hard at all.
Yeah, it's super difficult. It took, like, when I first started, it's a little bit of a different thing because I was 22 when I started, and I was walking around different marinas and different actually boat rentals and jet ski rental companies and saying, hey, I have this product. I have a jetpack. I'm 22 years old. Me and my friends, we want to set up a location here. Is that something we can do? And it was very hard because it's a small community of people, and the regulations are really strict, which is a good thing. At the end of the day, it does keep a lot of rogue operators out, but you'll still have them. You can't 100% control the rogue operators. There still always be them. But it's not like Florida where, you grab by the equipment and you can just go in any lake or on the beach almost. At least that's what I'm experiencing.
No way, man.
I'm kind of curious. What's the for customers? What's the process like if they want to rent a ski? Do they? In Florida, they got to take a test and watch a video, and they have to be a certain age. Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So you have to really. It's about getting approval from the government or the governing body of whoever governs that body of water. Like, it's either the Coast Guard or it's a city. Usually you have to get approval from them. And then you actually, after that, now you got to make sure that the lease for the city allows that type of activity. These leases only allow certain activities. And so you got a bunch of red tape to go through, a bunch of authorities, a bunch of permissions you got to get. And then, you have these companies that have held on to these locations for 10, 20, 30 years, So, it's a very difficult place to break into.
It's like a de facto moratorium. But so the rates have to be good, though. What are they getting for an hour?
Yeah, it just depends. You'll have the rogue operators that do sneak by. They'll be your cheapest, trying to gain market share, trying to gain customers. Are you talking about jet ski rentals, boat rentals?
Yeah, jet ski. I'm curious, like jet ski, pontoon. I'm just curious of what the hourly rates is, so we can have a comparison.
Yeah, so they always fluctuate, right? So, but you can get them. You can, like, we've seen specials like on Groupon for $50 an hour or something ridiculous, right? So we've seen some pretty bold pricing, which, and I've seen these companies around here, and they're I don't know if they'll be around long, right? Like those companies that charge that
not at $50
dollar, there's just no, and it just tells you they're renting. They have a fleet of Sea-Doo jet skis, so it just tells you, like, you have Sea-Doo jet skis which require more maintenance, and you're charging the lowest price. I don't know how long you're going to be around, and that's what the lowest we've seen. And then, we've seen, people charge up to $150 out for an hour. The tours are really what I think the sweet spot is, the jet ski tours here, because you can actually rent the tours, and you have a tour operator that takes people around and shows them guided tours and, calls out landmarks and stuff like that. So I think that is one of the most popular and, like, most profitable operations that I know of. Because you also have that tour guide that's going to be there and actually is there to watch the skis and make sure they don't run into each other, make sure they're not doing something crazy, because as you guys know, wave runners are probably the most dangerous thing to run in the water.
Oh yeah,
So.
we know all about that.
It was really funny. There's actually a lobbyist group called the American Watercraft Association, and we hired her we had some crappy regulatory problems here, so we brought her on, and we were in on the initial sort of discovery phase of what we had going on here. Upon our initial conversation, she goes, so y'all are doing tours, right? I'm not just letting them go off there on their own for an hour. And I go, no, we're letting them go out for 4 to 8 hours on there. And she goes, what? She was like her head almost just popped off her shoulders. And even insurance carriers, they're shocked when I'm like, yeah, we still do free ride here. And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. That I think that the majority of the industry has moved toward that, because it's just it is a pain in the butt. I can tell you firsthand that I did 1 year of volume free rides, and that last year, and that will be my last year doing that. That's for sure. I'm all set.
Hey Paul, what type of equipment are most of the guys running on Wave Runner or personal watercraft? Is it Yamaha? So you mentioned Sea-Doo.
Yeah. Well, one of the businesses here that there's only one of them that I know runs Sea-Doo, and that's one of the people that charge the least. And it's funny because he actually bought the location. He bought an old existing competitor of ours in the hydroflight market. And so he came in and started undercharging hydroflight too, which was funny. He's no longer doing that. But anyway, I would say Yamaha is the leading brand around here that people rent. And I can say I've had Yamaha and I've had Sea-Doo, and I can tell you right now, I'll never buy another Sea-Doo. Company.
So in the South, people are a little bigger than they are in other parts of the country. Mm-hmm. And if you put a decent sized Southern guy on a Sea-Doo Spark, he will fall off of it. Mm-hmm. They're useless. I mean, just like the EXs, I bought a handful of those for my fleet, and I can't put two people on them. I mean, if they're more than 160 pounds, they're gonna fall off of them. So it's just, there's a liability altogether. But it's curious. And I asked that because I'm just wondering if maybe different parts of the country they're using different equipment, but it really seems to be kind of the same across the board, about the same rates. And there are guys in this area that do Groupons for jet skis. I've seen that, but I think no matter if you're on East Coast or West Coast, about $100 an hour seems to be about the price, give or take. And their prices have been increasing too. So
yeah, they have been, and ours as well. We're increasing our prices next year as well when we reopen. We're working on a new location too as well. So it's the thing is that, can we talk about Groupon for a second? Because
go ahead.
Let's go. Let me tell you something about Groupon. We've had success on Groupon. Don't get me wrong. I think they provide a good platform for consumers and the end user. And I run a digital agency as well, so I see both sides. I'm a business owner and I'm also the marketing agency, right? So I see both sides, and I think that a lot of people hate on Groupon. A lot of businesses hate on Groupon, and I can be in one of those categories at times. But I just think that what the Groupon has evolved into and what they used to be is totally different, right? And essentially, what really bothered me, we've had a lot of success on Groupon. Like, Groupon loves our experiences. I think we've sold over, 300,000, 400,000 in Groupon over the years. So, we've had some good success with them. And the thing about it is that they used to be a platform that people would go to get discounts. But one thing that rubbed us out, what we caught them doing 2 years ago, it might have been a little bit longer than that even, but what we caught them doing was they were actually running PPC Google ads over top of our brand searches. And basically what Google did, which was, it's both of them together, is they had the placement under the maps pack and under the listings under our name. So basically, right when you saw our name, you saw the Groupon. So literally from all of our organic marketing and the marketing that we were doing that wasn't Groupon, they were just stealing our customers, right? Because they put our ads right below that, and Google made a nice placement for them right underneath of it, which really rubbed me wrong, and that's where like our falling out with Groupon went. I told them this. I said, look, guys, I said, I'm not running campaigns with you guys. You guys are running ads over top of my ads and over top of my company with our brand search, and you're not helping out, and you're taking business from me. And so, then what the funny thing is that we did some research with the agency on that. And one thing that we discovered is that they weren't doing it with every campaign. Of course not, right? Because the campaigns weren't successful. They were doing it with the successful campaigns and the top campaigns, right? That they knew sold. So now you have Groupon running ads, raising your CPC, plus they're taking your clientele, plus you have the competitors, right, that are not getting ads ran on their listings, even though they have Groupon. And it just made me sick when I discovered that. And I literally called them up and said, look, guys, I'm taking the campaign down. If you guys keep running ads, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to shut it down. And literally they're like, okay, we'll take it off. We won't run ads on it anymore.
Yeah,
So,
and for further, I don't know if me and Greg are both getting ready to jump on this one. But I'll let Greg go ahead and field this. Like for anybody that does figure this out, Greg, you want to go ahead and tell them how to, if the company will not do it, but you can go ahead. How do you get rid of that?
All right. So did you try filing a trademark claim with Google?
I didn't even have to get that far because.
Okay. So that's the first thing I'd recommend, because I used to be partnered in a magic show, believe it or not, of all the things I do. And the magician's a really good friend of mine. And we did a Groupon. Groupon's great for helping people discover new things. Mm-hmm. And we were disappointed because, we ran this Groupon, and it's one thing if Groupon was selling at full price, but the fact that it was 50% off, that's what teed us off. That we're trying to get some brand searches at full price. If Groupon was the same price, then they're probably going to book it direct. But we asked them to take it off. They said no, that's part of the deal. So we filed a trademark claim, and within a week, it was gone.
Yeah.
So, but another question I have for you is, people that are, I would imagine people learn about Flyboard because they see it somewhere, and they're not necessarily going to a destination saying, I'm going to look for a Flyboard in this destination. I'm sure they're on TripAdvisor and they discover it. So when the campaign turned off, were you able to see the differences in sales? Or,
So we have really good SEO, and so it's all organic. We spend a lot of money on that as well. SEO is not free for everybody listening. It costs a lot more money and it takes a lot more time. And so this is why it ticks you off when people can run a PPC over top your SEO and your ad and get people. But anyway, we actually did it this year. We took it down. We've experimented with the last 3 years, last 5-8 years, or how many years? We've been running about 5-6 years actually, Groupon, I think. And we've experimented taking it off, and we definitely saw a decrease in customers, right? And you're right. A lot of people are looking for things to do, and they discover it, but we also have a good bit of market that do see our videos, or they do see something that we've done online. I mean, we did the Devon Supertramp video with like 20 million views. So, they see that, and we've done that online and marketing, and people come to us and they do even travel to us, right? They do travel to San Diego and say, hey, we came here just for this, so there is customers out there that do see a video on YouTube or wherever they see the article they read and whatever it is, they see it and they do come to us. But Groupon is what you just said. You're exactly right. It hit it right on the head. Groupon is a great discovery where people are looking for experiences to do. And now Groupon's done a good job of training people to look for discounts on Groupon. So your best customers aren't there anyway, but you do get some customers. But when that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with sharing Groupon. They're putting more, they created a platform and they deserve money for that. I'm not against that as a business owner. I'm just against their practices of trying to steal our organic and actual legit customers that will pay full price and then give them a discount, like you just said. And
I will run brand query pay-per-click campaigns only against companies that I don't like.
Right.
Like if I've got a relationship and I do it, I'll be the first person to admit that I do it.
Well, that's okay.
But companies that I have that I have relationships with, but man, if somebody rubs me the wrong way, like I do, I have a pay-per-click campaign that's a competitive brand query.
Well, Paul, from my if Groupon was charging the same amount, would that annoy you as much?
No, exactly. No, exactly what you guys are all in the same group, right? Exactly. That's what aggravates me is that your PPC, Kevin, that you're running over your competitors. I'm okay with that. My competitors do it too. I'm okay with that. Whatever, it's competition. What I'm not okay with is you giving a discount and then running it over top, right? Like you're not giving a super big discount and running over your competitors, and that's up to the company. Like I've always, we get other businesses around the industry calling us for assistance and help, and I've always, told them, they're always like, Paul, well, what I have someone else that came in, and their competitor right across the lake from me, and they're charging cheaper, and is actually Mike from Campfly, and he came and I was like, look, Mike, I was like, don't worry about them. I was like, there's going to be people that come in and cheaper. I said, they'll probably be gone in a year or two. If they're going to keep their prices low, you know what it costs to run your business and you know what makes it profitable. You have to focus on offering a better experience and a better company than they do, and really show that value, because, at the end of the day, a lot of customers do care about the price ultimately, right? You look for the best deal. That's just natural, right? But at the end of the day, when it comes to hydroflight, there's a little bit more involved than just a jet ski and giving it to them and letting them drive it on their own. Someone else is controlling them, for one, and the other thing is that not only is someone else controlling them, they're scared to die, right? Because you're flying, you can fly up to 50 feet on these things. So they want someone that has the experience. They want someone where they feel safe. And that's how we've kept our prices up and have still outdone our competitors here. And it's not always about the cheapest price as a business. If you're a business owner and you're listening to this, don't always think about the cheapest price. Try to add more value to that consumer and make it a better experience. The people will pay for it. I'm a person that will pay the top dollar for the best thing.
I want to jump in here real quick. Yeah. So you can get a listing on Groupon without having to reduce. I mean, you could, because they'll do price parity with their parent company, TripAdvisor. So a lot of times you don't have to necessarily sign up with Groupon. You can sign up with TripAdvisor, which you could go back to episode 2 and find out
they're an affiliate. Yeah, they have a distribution agreement with
Correct.
TripAdvisor.
Yeah. Right. So once you sign up with Viator or once you sign up with TripAdvisor, you'll get put across all of their platforms, and then they price parity what's on TripAdvisor. Now, I'm not going to get into that for anybody wanting more information about TripAdvisor, which is a parent group of Groupon. You can go back to episode 2 and listen to my expletive fist-pounding diatribe on TripAdvisor. But yeah, so then you can still use Groupon, be found on Groupon, but not have to do those absurd deals of the day, 50% discount things. Like that's something I've never. And we actually pulled our listing off TripAdvisor too. But so you can sort of get the best of both worlds by getting that discovery through. And now you won't be listed on Groupon and Viator unless you're a part of their OTA platform. So we pulled that off of TripAdvisor, so people can still find us through TripAdvisor, see that we're rated number 1 on TripAdvisor, but then go ahead and go through our website and book direct, or feel free to book through TripAdvisor and
what was competitors. That? Really? I didn't know TripAdvisor and Groupon were now affiliated. That's crazy. So we haven't spent much effort on TripAdvisor for a few years. It wasn't really bringing us the business that it used to. And I think it's because of the platform change, and I think it's because they're doing more of a pay to play model. And I think that, we use a Viator program as well, but I didn't know all that about TripAdvisor. We've got a couple clients here in the water sports whale watching business. And, you know, they built their business on TripAdvisor, and then one day it was gone, you know, and I looked into it, try to figure out what was going on, and noticed that, you know, if you're not using their Viator system, you're not having offerings on their bookings, they're not ranking you. You know, they want people that are going to book through them so they get that commission when they book, right? So that's
I think companies markets that have a larger, like, and I would imagine California, and I know Key West, a lot of places that have international travel coming in, and they're looking a lot like that's where TripAdvisor has a stronger has a stronger hold in the marketplace. You know, with the more drive-in markets, I think where you can sort of you can target your demographic or where people are coming from and people are finding you can find them a lot easier and frankly a lot cheaper, because I know TripAdvisor, depending on markets, like whale watching in San Diego could be, man, they could be high as 30%. Every market that they charge you a different percentage based on what the marketplace dictates. But getting away from TripAdvisor, I hate talking about that. Well, I do, but only if it's like with some whiskey and vitriol, like rage and anger. So a little bit going. So obviously California, we share like a lot of the same similar stuff is happening in California. It's really terrible to hear about the regulations that you guys have going on there, but everything seems to be going in the same direction. It feels like as it is the rest of the country with outdoor activities and stuff like that. And I know we're getting long in time here, but I would like to touch on something we sort of talked about in one of our other episodes, and you provide a lot of different case studies for things that we've discussed before. You know, we've talked about Hydroflight, why it sort of couldn't gain a really strong footing in the marketplace, in the water sport marketplace, because of brand identity and stuff like that. But another thing that you've done, it seems successfully, is you've been able to pivot into, so you have some more streams of income, something Greg always talks about. You want to have more than just one stream of income. So why did you make that transition into getting into an agency, you know, as opposed to just focusing all of your efforts on aquatic aviation?
Yeah, so Aquatic Aviation, you know, was my first company, and in the beginning few years, you know, 100% focused on that. And what happened is I've hired a lot of digital agencies to do work for us, you know, and you know, one thing that I realized, and I'm sure you guys can relate to, is there's, you know, the barriers to entry in a digital agency is very low. So you have a lot of people with a laptop and watch a bunch of YouTube videos and think they know how to market and think they know how to do all these services. And, you know, and when a small business, it's really hard to find the right person to get you results. And it's very difficult. And there's anybody can throw up an ad campaign and run it and blow a lot of money. So what ended up happening is I've hired some good companies and I've hired some bad companies. And so what I saw is when I was hiring these companies for small business, especially being a small business, not having the super big budgets, you know, it's definitely a lower end budget, which what we had at the beginning. And what I realized is that a lot of these agencies, they just didn't do it right, in my opinion. You know, they weren't transparent enough on what they did. They didn't track things properly. They didn't set up campaigns right. And I was just like, wow, like these people are actually taking people's money and just burning it. And, you know, and not providing value and not being transparent about what's going on. You know, marketing's a very gray, you know, it's a lot of trial and error. So like, you know, you have businesses, including myself in the beginning, that was like, okay, look, I'm going to hire your marketing agency. I'm going to give you $3,000. I want to make $6,000 back. Right. I mean, that's if you're spending money, you want to make money back. Right. And so what ended up happening is I started hiring some of these agencies, and I didn't know anything at the time. And I was like, they didn't do much, right? Or wow, there goes $3,000, boom, gone, right? So I didn't get my money back from that. And so what I ended up doing was I was like, well, I've built this, I've learned it, I've taken the extra time and, spent half the time marketing my own business, building my own websites and, doing my own video production and setting up my own Google AdWords, doing all that stuff and learning it. And I was like, all right, I've always been a man of integrity and always tried to be about my word. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I was like, well, I'm going to build an agency that focuses on that because I think the marketplace needs that. I think that there's just too much fluff out there. There's too much people using big keywords and big marketing terms that try to act like they know what they're talking about and the lingo. But at the end of the day, they just don't even have the experience or the knowledge to even do it. And I wanted to come in and be somebody that actually built a business from it. All of our business is generated online. So we can do whatever we want, so we can move where we want. It's not location dependent. We can sell wherever we want. It's awesome, right? So I just wanted to go ahead and transition that into helping, other people in this industry to start with, because I know it. I've had enough research and experience in it. But that I also wanted to actually be that company where people say, you know what, they did what they said they're going to do, and they have integrity, and they didn't just waste all my money, and they brought me money. And so that's
go ahead, Drake.
Go ahead. I was about to say your story sounds like someone else I know on this call.
Yeah. The one thing I want to know, and I find this to be just hysterically ridiculous, but I've had 5 conversations with 5 different operators, not selling them on agency service stuff, but and I dabble in a little bit of that, more on the consultancy, because the agency work just seems incredibly involved and oh, hey man, let me call you up and talk to you about for the next 3.5 hours about why I think you should do your job like this.
Right.
But I want to know where the magic $500 number came in. And it was really funny. I don't know if there's some marketer at some point just got everybody, doesn't matter what they do, SEO, $500, SMM, $500, pay-per-click, $500. And then I talk, I'm like, well, hey, what are you paying? And they all say it, $500. And then I asked a guy, not a marketer, but an actual operator, I said, what's your budget? $500. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. What did you guys all read the same fucking book or something, man? You'd be doing $10 million in revenue, $500 budget. 500
is the new 100, I think.
we need to bring back the $500 bill, man. I don't know at what course all these marketers took where they figured out the magic number was $500, but it's insane to me, man. I literally heard that 3 times this week for 3 completely different services, and I was just like, I give up.
There's something Paul said back there about how so many people, the barrier to entry is really low. And if you think about an attorney, attorneys get paid somewhere between $200 to $500 an hour, even some more than that. Mm-hmm. And they just get paid literally to talk to you.
Yeah.
Right. Now, how much does a good digital, a really good digital marketer get paid, to talk to somebody? 0, because they got to go through so many hoops just to get that contract. I don't know how many times where I've spoken to people, I gave them probably thousands of dollars worth of advice. Mm-hmm. And they never hired me, because before Trip Shock, I used to do consulting. Yeah. This is 12 years ago. And I gave people marketing plans, and I'm like, great, this guy's going to hire me. And he never does. So finally, I realized that my advice is extremely valuable, and no one's going to get a hold of it unless they pay me for it. But now with this podcast, we're giving it away for free. I mean, I tell everybody, we're like Emeril Lagasse giving the recipes away. But are these people going to cook it? No, they're not.
No.
But so at least not everybody. Some of them will. But I mean, if I'm going to give my advice away, I want to have a way to do it in a way that I can. I can help everybody instead of telling what's in the same story every single time. But
all the time, dude, I'm like, just go listen to the show. No, man, no. Why don't we just sit on the phone and talk? No, dude, I got 2 kids, a pregnant wife. I got a business. I got another business that I'm working on. Go listen to the podcast. You can't even give me back a little something and listening to the goddamn show and giving me a download. No. I want a personal one-on-one like consultation. And I'm just like, pay Google, dude. I literally said that to a guy 2 weeks ago. I go, you want a magic bullet? Pay Google. Oh, well, I don't have that budget. Well, then I don't know, man. Then fucking
my
go
Google,
get a billboard, dude.
my Google assistant, my Google pod here is going off every time you say Google, so I'm like tapping it so it doesn't come on. It's pretty funny actually. but yeah, Greg, back to what you were saying. That's so funny. I love that we all relate to this. But you know what's funny, Greg, about what you said about lawyers and stuff? We actually just had to hire an immigration lawyer for my wife and me, and I thought the same thing. I was like, what are we paying these guys $10,000 for? You know, what are they doing? I tell her all the time, like, they better be writing this stuff themselves. You know what I mean? Like, they better be doing everything, all this documentation ourselves. Nope. They just have templates and tell us what to write, and then we do it. I'm like, okay, great. That's awesome. But back to that, it pisses me off because back to what you said, Greg, and this is where my mindset changed. And I'm pretty sure you guys keep up with Gary Vee and all the big, marketing guys on social media and stuff. And, your Grant Cardones and stuff. I know I was talking to Kevin about it, and, I've learned so much from those guys. I love those guys, mad respect. But one thing that I changed this year, it's so funny that you say that about getting paid for your time. So we run a program here, with, Aquatic Aviation, where we call it our Aqua program. And basically it's a business in a box, and we basically set up businesses for customers. And what I've ended up doing is the same thing that you were just talking about. Is I'm giving, these people are calling us and they're talking to our consultants, they're talking to me, and they're talking about what they want to do. They're dreamers. They have this business vision, and they're like, we're all spending 30 minutes to an hour on just explaining everything, answering all their questions. And, we're one of the top companies in the industry. So, we get a lot of calls. People want to, see that we're doing it right, and they want to call us, and that's great. And I love it. And we love giving that advice. But what I realized was, I was like, same way. I'm like, wait, why are we giving away, hundreds of thousands of dollars that we invested, and my time and energy that I've spent in the last 8 years in building this company? Why are we just giving it away? I was like, we can't just give it away. Literally a month ago, I set up a new system through Calendly, and I started charging for booking appointments for consultation calls for the program and the industry. And literally, I'm not joking. I wish I would have done this 2 years ago. Literally, I charge $100 for an hour. It's nothing. It's cheap. I've literally sold that on the phone. Out of 4 times of pitching it, I've sold 3 of them. And every one of them that paid, that 3 of them went through, and every one of them closed on the bigger deal after they paid $100. Yeah, and then that's a $16,000 program.
Yeah, right? And so you're qualifying
right,
and at the same point in time, you're figuring out too, and there's so many business owners that are like this, is that they go, oh man, I pay $100, or I pay $100 here, I pay $100 there, I pay $100 here. They love that little small number, and then they go, yeah, in this hour I'm gonna figure out how to do it myself. And
right.
And I'll listen. I've booked coaching calls, and I paid it too. The difference is as Greg said, Emma Lagasse, is I love to cook. So when you give me that recipe, I'm taking notes. I'm going to sit down and do something with it. But a lot of these guys, they just want to go, oh yeah, here's the blueprint. Now I'm just going to go sit down. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to Upwork. But
right.
Realistically, what do they end up probably doing with it? Other than you said hiring you on as an agency, then is what you're saying after that initial $100 call. Yeah.
Well, it's more, the Aqua program's like more than an agency. It's our sister company, our agency runs it, in like the back ends, the reservation systems, the website, the CRM, the accounting software. We set all that up. That's our agency side. But we also tied it in with the Aquatic Aviation side, where that includes a piece of equipment to run the operation. It also includes your instructor training. That also includes, and we haven't even marketed this thing yet, but we've been trying it out for the last 2 or 3 years. So
you're selling the entire business,
right?
All right, exactly. We kind of missed that. So I missed it. So and I was looking at your site, seeing that's brilliant. So like from top to bottom, here's every single step that you need to start a hydroflight business.
Right. And
you should give them a prescription to Valium as well.
You know what?
I've run hydroflight, man, and I'm not poo-pooing it. I love it. But I'll tell you the day that I finally was done, Paul. It was me and Ben were out there, and I hit my first and only backflip. I landed it, and I shut that page off. I said, I'm done. I'm going back to renting boats. I hit my backflip. It was my 40th birthday present to myself. And I said, Ben, good luck. But hey, not for nothing, Ben does really good with hydroflight. Anybody listening to this, if you've got a passion for it, I think it's a great business. When you start off a business going, I'm going to rent boats, I'm going to do hydroflight, I'm going to do jet skis, I'm going to do my own marketing, I'm going to build websites, I'm going to do all this stuff. Maybe that was year one. And so I learned really fast that a business owner's got to wear a lot of hats already, enough as it is. So that was the only reason I got out. But I think it's an amazing program, man, that you're really setting somebody up then. And I listen, Greg will be the first to tell you, I'm not a big person. You come on our show like, you got a great business. I'm sure it's awesome. But that's good because, it's not, those things aren't attached to, like, when you start a jet ski business, most of these guys don't know what a CRM is. So I think there's a credible amount of value, and it's a great idea to to package it all up in one thing. And then you are like you're cutting out some of the things that that can result in failure on any business level, let alone hydroflight. So that's cool, man.
And I've always, like you said, it's a hard sport, like you said. And it's the thing is like the growth. I mean, there's been a lot of money invested in the industry over the years, and it's people have failed. We've had companies come in, manufacturers have spent millions trying to capture market share, and they just failed. And and it's just we started the company because we wanted to bring this sport to the masses, and we wanted to, introduce this. It was new. No one's ever seen it. So we had so much passion for it in the beginning, and, we wanted it. And our goal has always been to actually bring this to people and give them the experience and let them experience flight. Because when we first experienced it, we fell in love with it. Right. Like I'm sure you did. And the one thing that, that I've always wanted to do was help other people do what we did, and that's why I started the program, and I want to help grow the sport. And I believe the sport, it has seen its height, its explosion years, and then it's dropped down, and then it's plateaued with slow growth because it's still growing. It's just not what it used to be. And I think that, one of the visions that I've always had for the industry and what I've seen how it can grow is you got to get people on it. The more people you get on it, the more people will fall in love with it. And so we believe building the foundation of it is, a lot of people went straight for the competitions, which is great. But the problem is you don't have enough people competing yet. And to do that, I think you have to start with the barrier entry. It's expensive. So I think you need to start. This is my roadmap. My plan is I think you need to start with the foundation, which are your rental and training facilities, to get people on it at an affordable price. And I think from that, then it starts to grow and becomes a sport. But I think until you get enough people on it and until the technology changes, innovation changes, that you can have, because it is expensive to train. It's really expensive to train. So I think that once that gap gets smaller, maybe that'll get smaller with electric jet skis, because they're coming out too. So maybe it won't, but maybe the technology get better. Maybe someone else comes in and innovates it, picks it up where it left off.
I think it's awesome that you're still, pushing forward with hydroflight. From, like I said, from experience, I know that it bringing any new product to market can be a really difficult road comparatively to the rest of water sports industry. Hydroflight is still very much in its infancy, and I think it's going to take operators like you and operators like Ben Merrill that can keep on pushing it, can keep it pushing it forward, man. And it seems like you got a great hold on it, and you got a great verticals that you're including into it and ensuring success for the operators that that you guys help put into business. And man, I think it's a great model. With that said, man, I want to really thank you for coming on the show and giving us your time and sharing a little bit of your West Coast story. And we wish you all the best.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin, and nice to meet you, Greg. And I appreciate you guys having me on here. Anything I can do for you, please let me know. I do want to see water sports in general and the industry of hydroflight and flyboarding, jetpacking, all that stuff. I want to see it grow. And that's why I'm here. So,
all right, man, as do we, man. Well, thanks you so much again, Paul. And man, to everybody listening and tuning in, Paul, is there a way that people can get a hold of you if they want more information about digital marketing or hydroflight?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you can check me out, on social media, the website. The website's bulkamedia.com. as our agency, and then the website is for our hydroflight is aquaticaviation.net. So that's where you can find us and my companies. So
awesome, man. Well, thanks again. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, and keep it awkward.
You've been listening to the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. If you're in the water sport industry, this is the podcast that brings the business perspective to parasailing, jet and ski boat rentals, sailing, snorkeling, and everything else. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Be sure to sign up to our email list at watersportpodcast.com and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.